a boy named Karna faced a legendary earth dragon. He was tasked with collecting its eyes. The winged monster mocked his weakness, declaring it would show Karna the true power of the great dragon king. As it swung its claws, a devastating blow cracked the very ground. It laughed at Karna's fragility, proclaiming that its time had come to reclaim the earth. But it turned back in shock as the dust settled, seeing the boy unharmed, surrounded by spirits blocking its arm. It watched in horror as its own arm began to rot and disintegrate before finally falling off. It roared in agony and confusion. Karna stared in disbelief at his own power, amazed that with just one arm, he could inflict so much damage. He wondered if he could even control this power. Then he raised his hand toward the dragon, unleashing the power of the wind with its full might. The creature shrieked as the magic enveloped it, causing its entire body to begin to decay, making it crumble and collapse into a pile of dust on the ground. The attack was so powerful that it obliterated the monster's eyes, causing Karna to fail his quest and lose the reward. Karna then looked at the mark on the back of his hand, the mark bestowed upon him by the heavens, signifying his profession as a sage with the skill of necromancy. Although initially thrilled to have a powerful profession, Karna lamented that his overwhelming magical power had disintegrated the quest materials. He realized that controlling his power when holding back was easy, but fine-tuning it against high-reward monsters without overdoing it was difficult. Karna wondered if he should just take an easy, low-reward quest like killing goblins or slimes, but he quickly realized that with such low-paying quests, he couldn't send money to his grandparents. Karna began to search the dragon's remains for anything useful, while recalling that he was supposed to have been hired by a hero party, and wondered how he had ended up in this situation. In a flashback to 1 month before the battle, Karna had just turned 13. His grandfather praised him for receiving the title of sage, while his grandmother cheerfully said that such a powerful child wouldn't fit in their small village. The boy was overjoyed, hoping to become a great sage and earn lots of money to make his grandparents rich. They told him not to worry about that, as they were old and would be happy as long as he was healthy. But Karna's determination was unwavering. He remembered how his grandparents had taken him in when he lost his parents years ago, and had raised him, hoping to one day repay the kindness they had shown him, which brought them to tears. His grandparents hugged him tightly, crying, until he heard a knock at the door. He stepped outside. When Karna opened the door, he was met by a party of heroes who had been searching for him. Here, a person is recognized as an adult when they turn 13 and receive an inscription through an enlightenment ceremony, revealing their profession and skills. Those with similar traits form parties to maximize their strength. Those who receive inscriptions like Holy Knight, Master Warrior, or Sage are called gold holders and are registered in the guild system. Being an adventurer allows one to take on quests for money or be recruited by a legendary hero party on a mission to defeat demon kings. The party leader read Karna's registration information aloud, believing his skills would be useful against high-level demons. Karna tried to refuse, saying he didn't think it would work out, and was terrified at the thought of fighting the demon king. But in an instant, he changed his mind. When the hero reassures him and promises that he will earn huge sums of money, saying goodbye to his grandparents, he gets the chance to travel with the hero's party. As a member, they soon face a powerful ogre, requiring Karna to show his strength. The boy uses death bullets, defeating the creature with spirits, leaving the party stunned. Later, when overwhelmed and surrounded by monsters, Karna suggests summoning their own allies and orders some undead to rise and fight the monsters. When a creature attacks the hero, Karna launches mud bullets at it, causing its flesh to melt. Karna controls his grandfather's spirit along with animal spirits to achieve victory, and he thinks everything is going smoothly. But the hero, surprisingly, politely asks him to leave the party. The surprise boy asks if he wasn't helpful, while the hero tries to keep the peace. However, the party's battle master bluntly says that he's disrupting the team's coordination and that his skills are disgusting. In fact, she hates being useless in battle and accuses him of preventing her from attacking, trying to steal her spotlight. Although he points out that she could have attacked normally, she insists that she didn't want to fight a mud-covered monster with her bare hands. She turns to the other girl for support, and that person calls his magic psychologically unbearable. The hero tries to console Karna, but explains that since he's only been with them for a month and his trial period isn't over, the kingdom won't pay him. Desperate to keep the job and send money to his grandparents, he offers to stop using necromancy. But the hero notes that they only hired him for his necromancy and didn't expect him to use such unpleasant spells. The other two girls also support that view. Karna quickly assesses the situation and realizes that the battle master wants him gone because she's afraid of becoming useless. The Holy Knight supports her because his magic is unpleasant, and she might be worried about his necromancy, while the hero just wants to keep the pretty girls around. With no other choice, Karna bows, thanks them for everything, and turns to leave. The hero calls out to him and apologizes for everything, handing him a small pouch with 500 gold. He says goodbye, stating that they'll still be friends, before leaving with the party. The boy is now left alone and jobless, and as he walks down the road, Karna starts to compare his situation to a story about the exile of heroes. Believing that good things will come to him from now on, cheerfully, he heads to the royal capital to change his job. In the capital, Karna tries to find a party to join, but the adventurers there refuse to hire him. Because of his bad reputation for leaving the hero's party in just 1 month, shunned, the disheartened boy left the capital and was forced to become a solo adventurer. Back in the present, Karna knelt before the dragon's corpse and wondered what he should do from now on. His spirits, worried about his well-being, offered to find him something to eat since he was hungry. However, he doubted they could find any food here. Karna reasoned that there might be more treasure chests and other dragons in the cave, so he ordered them to search for food and used a spirit-finding spell to send them off. Grandpa didn't join them, saying he was too old to be running around like that, making Karna remark that he was just a normal old man. After some searching, one of the spirits found an empty treasure chest, while another stumbled upon the corpse of an adventurer. However, given how much time had passed, Karna figured the water he was carrying must have gone bad. However, the third spirit stopped before a pair of giant gates marking the entrance to a large, ominous castle. It declared that it couldn't go any further. Karna believed this meant the castle was protected by a powerful barrier, and he headed towards it, excited by the possibility of finding valuable treasure inside. He confirmed the presence of a strong barrier and used the power of necromancy to dispel it. As he used this magic, the barrier began to shake and crack before completely shattering. While the iron gates were blown open, Karna noticed that the barrier had weakened after 200 years, which made it easier to extinguish with force. But before he could enter the castle, he was stopped by a group of 3 flying demons, blocking his path. They landed in front of him, and as their leader asked the reason for his presence, he noted that Karna's mark was from an outer god, and his human-like appearance suggested he was very powerful. The demon was surprised to learn he had destroyed the barrier, explaining that the castle belonged to Cecilia Isla Ferisu, one of the 7 demon lords. The boy asked in surprise why a demon castle was in a place where one could normally accept quests, and the demon wondered how he couldn't have known about it. Before dismissing it all and summoning the power of lightning, preparing to fight the intruder. As a loyal servant of Cecilia, his comrades remarked that Karna was truly unlucky to have been found by their leader, who was called Belphegor. They noted that he possessed the lightning of despair, granted by the ancient god Nodens, which could instantly boil the blood of others. The demon launched a bolt of lightning at Karna, causing a powerful explosion. Belphegor commented on how trivial the matter was, until the dust settled, revealing Grandpa in his human form, holding a lightning trident in his hand, declaring that he wouldn't be harmed by such a weak spell, and that he would not allow any harm to come to his master. The demon stared in disbelief, wondering why the ancient god No Dance would obey a human. The boy asked the spirit if that was his name, and he noted that he had yet to introduce himself. Turning to Belphegor, No Dance prepared to show him the lightning of despair. Asking Karna to lend him some magic, the boy agreed and touched him, causing the trident to glow with power. While the demon watched in horror, No Dance then unleashed a storm of lightning, roasting him and leaving his two subordinates badly injured. And terrified to see the god defeat one of their strongest demons, they turned to flee until their mistress, Cecilia, appeared with a smile. The demon lord of lust congratulated Karna for showing her something interesting and asked for his name. She then invited him to serve under her, praising his fighting style and saying there was something in him that she wanted. However, the boy bowed his head and told her to stop, noting that necromancy was an unpleasant magic, which got him kicked out of the hero's party. She just smiled, saying there was nothing wrong with his skills, and declared necromancy to be the greatest magic in the world, asking him to show her more. Karna hesitated at the thought of betraying humanity, but Cecilia caressed his cheek and, more importantly, offered a salary of 20 million gold per year. He happily accepted. Cecilia's underworld domain is L.A. Rural, one of the 7 demon lords who received power from a god and descended from the great demon king. Inside, Karna was led by Cecilia. He wore a new demon mask to hide the fact that he was human. The other demons whispered about him, discussing his recent victory and how he was always followed by No Dance, making the spirit realize Karna's fame. He explained that he had died thousands of years ago and thus didn't know they had started to worship him. The pig demon noted that the boy smelled human and wondered if he was actually a human, but one of his comrades quickly cut him off, stressing that their lady had declared him her follower and that no one who looked like that could be human. Even though Cecilia had already announced him, he still feared being found out, so he decided to act like a demon to avoid being caught, and with this, he could support his grandparents. Finally, they reached the demon lord's room, and Cecilia told him he could take off his mask as she led him inside. Declaring that this room was his workplace, Karna saw the mess in the room and was surprised looking at Cecilia. As she turned her face away, he realized that she didn't know how to clean. Embarrassed, the demon queen asked him not to tell anyone and explained that the more she cleaned, the messier it got. She had hired him as her servant. Karna agreed, keeping the high salary in mind, but wondered why she didn't choose a servant from among the demons she already had. Cecilia flatly refused, insisting that only he could do the job. She said that after he finished cleaning that evening, he could use the castle's facilities. Cecilia left, leaving the bewildered boy to his task. Although he didn't understand her intentions, Karna was eager to start and was determined to complete every task she gave him. He headed to the castle's vast library and explained to No Dance that he wasn't familiar with demon aesthetics, asking for his help with research. He then sent the other 3 spirits to search for books using their mana-sensing abilities. Karna received the knowledge they gathered through a psychic link. He wanted to gather information on creating the ideal bedroom for his queen, while also learning about demon culture. The old spirit watched the boy, wondering how long it would take him to skim through everything, but he immediately declared that he was done and had memorized it all, thanking the spirits for their help. While the old spirit looked at him with admiration, Karna noted that although the spirits helped him read, it was meaningless if he couldn't absorb it all. He complimented himself on his talent, now armed with this new knowledge, and ordered the spirits to go clean according to their preferences. 2 hours later, Cecilia was pleased with the clean state of the room. She praised their efforts and thanked them. She pointed to a pair of growling chests and explained that they contained pieces of cursed armor and demonic books. While the spirits trembled, recalling how they handled them, the demon queen smiled. She said that Karna's work had exceeded her expectations, and she was very happy he was here. The boy blushed, saying he was glad he could finally be of help to someone, even if she was a demon. He then told her about a book he was interested in. He ordered the spirits to grab a few volumes from the bookshelf and noted that they were all written by humans. Seeing the number of human books, he asked Cecilia why she had so many. The question made her blush, and Cecilia relaxed in the bath. Karna stood outside, his back to Cecilia, holding a towel. The old man looked at him with a knowing glint in his eye. The embarrassed boy silently blamed the spirit for this. As Cecilia turned off the water, she answered his earlier question, admitting she was interested in humans and that it was why she studied their lives and culture, like love and marriage. He blushed, realizing that was why there were so many romance novels in her library, which left her surprised and embarrassed. She opened the glass bathroom door and stepped out, startling Karna, and coldly asked if he had read her books, even though they were carefully disguised. Embarrassed, he apologized, explaining that he didn't know the contents were different from the covers, and that the spirits had read them while he was cleaning. Cecilia grabbed a towel and wrapped it around her body, blushing as she called him a naughty boy, and seductively approached him from behind, demanding he reveal his secrets. The paralyzed boy agreed to tell her everything, and she whispered, asking him to tell her about the god who looked after him, as well as where and how they had happily made their contract. Karna explained that Grandpa No Dance and the other spirits were neighbors of his grandparents. To Cecilia's surprise, he explained that when he first became a dark mage, he had wanted to cleanse the cursed land next to his grandparents' farm. He told her that a shady company had sold his grandfather that dangerous plot of land. Although dark magic can't cleanse without holy power, it allows the user to communicate with spirits and soothe them. He had gone to the wasteland and used his power, causing him to fall into a sinkhole when the ground beneath him cracked. Karna cushioned his fall with a layer of slime and found himself deep inside a cave, facing a giant dungeon shaped like a pyramid when seen from above. Nodens appeared behind him, staring at him. He told Cecilia he was surprised to discover a dungeon next to his grandparents' house. Nodens expressed surprise that a young boy could break the seal. This was before he met the other spirits, and once he got acquainted with Grandpa, they made a contract. The ancient god remarked that the boy would sometimes show up unexpectedly to learn magic, describing him as the son of someone who had heard of magic but never learned about it. Cecilia was amazed that the tomb of an ancient god erased from history was in such a place. He was one of the ancient gods who granted power to the 7 demon lords, but lost his physical body after humans betrayed him. According to legend, his spirit was sealed in a tomb somewhere, but its location was erased from all lore and written records. So no one knew where to look. When the land was eventually sold to Karna's family as a cursed plot, Cecilia noted that to free Nodens, he would have had to break a dangerous and powerful seal, meaning there was more to the boy than she expected. He looked at her and asked if she would catch a cold, but she replied that there was no way that could happen. She decided to assign him all the housework, noting that there were many more rooms to clean. He promised to get right on it and called upon the spirits to help. Seeing how reliable he was, she offered him another job with a reward of a nice room and an annual salary of up to 5 million gold. Karna trembled at the prospect as the spirit swirled around him. He frantically raised his hand and declared that he would do it. At the LA Rural Underground Palace, Cecilia was fast asleep. Karna entered her room, wearing his demon mask, and wished her a good morning. She woke up, revealing her scantily clad body, and greeted him back. The flustered boy replied, thanking her for letting him use the sofa to rest while thinking about how comfortable it was last night. He recalled with embarrassment how the demon lord had asked if he wanted to sleep with her. He had angrily shouted that it was impossible, since he wouldn't know where to look, making Grandpa wonder if he had spoiled the boy. Karna cheerfully declared that he was happy with the sofa and blanket, remembering the cold days after being kicked out of his party. As he rested, he thought about Cecilia's pleasant scent. Soft and warm. Back in the present, Cecilia asked him if the cushion was too hard. He reassured her and thanked her for her generosity, promising to repay her someday. She smiled and then asked if he could start working for her right away. She rang a bell, signaling for a demon to enter and serve them both breakfast. Cecilia told him his first task was to have breakfast together, telling him to take off his helmet since they were alone. He agreed, wondering if he was even allowed to eat this food. And she replied that she had asked the chef to prepare a human meal. He thanked Cecilia and was about to ask about her breakfast, but then noticed strange images emerging from it. He remembered that the Devil's Book mentioned that demons eat food to absorb magical power instead of nutrients. Cecilia cheerfully scooped up a spoonful of the strange soup and ate it. She noticed him staring and said shyly that the soup probably looked awful to humans. But the boy cheerfully asked if he could try some. Surprised, she agreed, scooping up a spoonful and feeding it to him. Although Grandpa and the spirits were worried, he found it delicious. Cecilia was overjoyed by this, while Grandpa wondered how he could enjoy it, remarking that demon food has few nutrients and a bland taste, even suggesting that eating garbage would be better. Cecilia became sad and explained that they had been trying to improve the taste for years. But no matter how much she ate, she could never make it taste like human food. Karna smiled, declaring that it wasn't bad at all, and asked if he could have some more. Cecilia trembled with happiness and suggested that they share the bowl of soup together, much to the spirit's surprise. After they finished eating, Cecilia moved on to the topic of the day. She took a cup of tea and began telling him about the demon he would be targeting. Cecilia told Karna about the demon generals, who formed the backbone of the Demon King's army, served the Demon Lord, and were granted territory and troops to command under the Demon King. She explained that demons aren't just assigned roles based on their rank. They have to demonstrate power and achievements to even be considered a leader in the Demon King's army, let alone become a general. As a reward, she revealed that if he became a general, his pay would double or even triple. Karna immediately jumped at the chance for the sake of his grandparents. Delighted to hear this, Cecilia planned to start by expanding their territory. Karna suggested they include his grandparents' farm within their territory, with his grandpa's help, noting that many of his friends would have grown up by then. Cecilia replied that her subordinates would flee since the house was inside the human kingdom. When he suggested she attack after he became a general, she said she wasn't good at that sort of thing, being just an ordinary demon lord. She stood up, suggesting they go out and have some fun, refusing to reveal their destination. They arrived at a location unknown to Karna, at an ogre base inside a demon dungeon. Here, a giant monster was facing a group of human soldiers, striking them down with its hammer. It had attacked the nearby human city and devoured its inhabitants. The subjugation force sent to deal with it had suffered constant raids and was on the verge of annihilation. The soldiers were beginning to lose heart, but their commander rallied their spirits, reassuring them that a hero would come and fight alongside them. Raising her sword to the sky, seeing this, the ogre charged forward and punched her in the chest, sending her flying into the rocks, declaring that he would break her like a horse and then devour her. He then tore off her armor, grabbed her by the hair, and prepared to eat her, while telling her to just give up. Before he could finish her off, he was hit by a shot from Karna. As the boy appeared, telling the stunned girl to get back when she asked who he was, seeing the mask, she mistook him for a monster. Karna summoned numerous spirits, lifting him off the ground, and declared himself an enemy of humanity, who had come to this dungeon in peace. Karna announced his intention to take over this dungeon as an enemy of humanity. But the ogre sneered at his arrogance and told him he was in its lair. The knight was surprised to see the creature still alive, but as he stood up, leaning on his iron hammer, he declared that he was no ordinary ogre. He told the boy that he was Barris, leader of the Ogre War Corps, serving under the Demon King of Greed, Lord Gudugaz. He then activated his mark, and his muscles bulged, as he revealed it to be the mark of the Blessed, declaring that if he could beat a dragon to death with his bare hands, he would have no trouble dealing with him. The knight stood there, amazed by such a powerful form. And Karna realized that the mark of the Blessed was granted by the ancient gods that demons worshipped, and was comparable to the power given to humanity during the enlightening sacrifice. He also deduced that this ogre must have the power of a hero, and only another hero could stand against him. Assessing the Ogre Lord's strength, he believed he could be a formidable opponent due to his enhancements and immense muscle mass. Believing he had scared him speechless, the ogre prepared to destroy Karna and raised its hammer. But he stood his ground and took out a lamp, opening it, and released the fire spirit within, activating his mark. Karna fused the spirit into his fist and absorbed a direct hit from the ogre's hammer, remaining completely unharmed. Both the ogre and the knight looked on, astonished at the seemingly impossible feat, and as the creature retracted its hammer, the fire spear reminded Karna to be more confident and not be intimidated by the ogre's muscles. It warned that the ogre was not at full power, and that the next blow would likely be much stronger. The monster confirmed this, telling Karna that he was chosen to die and asserting that he would not be stopped this time. As the ogre gripped its hammer with both hands, the spear told Karna that they would go all out and taunted the ogre. The ogre unleashed a powerful attack, causing the ground to shatter, sending large fragments flying toward him. Karna used his power, commanding the spear to vaporize the ground and form, delivering the hammer of fire as a counterattack. The blow landed, and the fireball headed toward the ogre, leaving him in disbelief as it incinerated him, creating a massive hole straight through the entire mountain. As the dust settled, Karna wondered if the ogre was gone, but the spear said he'd been torn to pieces, and that the attack was truly overkill. Karna doubted that defeating one of the 7 great demon generals would be so easy. He hovered around, looking for the knight. The knight was hiding behind a rock, trembling in fear at the dark demonic power she had just witnessed. When one of her subordinates asked what they should do, she panicked and told them to retreat to inform the heroes of the new situation. A new demon general, or perhaps even a demon king, had just appeared. The exorcist forces fled in a panic, while the fire spirit looked on, confused, asking Karna if everything was all right, but he told it to be quiet as they needed to search for the hidden demon. Karna sensed 3 souls in the distance using his soul detection spell, and they swept the entire dungeon before reporting that they couldn't find anyone. Karna found this strange, pointing out that high-level demons should be descendants of Nodance and Vor. The fire spirit noted that perhaps he wasn't blessed. Karna thought that the demon generals had to be as strong as Nodance and shouldn't be defeated with just one punch, noting that not even his grandfather was that weak. In a flashback, he recalled the first time he met Nodance at the tomb beneath his grandparents' farm. Karna asked the old man who he was, and he introduced himself as the divine spirit residing in the cemetery, surrounded by other powerful souls. He asked if the boy believed he could control their souls, demanding that he show his strength before attacking with the purple lightning of despair. Karna realized he had to complete a trial for them to become his spirits. He used a slime cushion to try and block the attack, but it failed and he was electrocuted. The fire spirit laughed and unleashed a fire hammer on him, but he shot slime bullets at the fireball, causing it to explode prematurely and sending him flying. Nodance mused that no one had ever been able to withstand the skills of the ancient gods like that. It had been a long time since he'd seen a human with such high potential. The injured boy got back up, his tattered body and clothes smoking from the attacks. When the god noticed he was still standing, Karna's expression turned serious, making the old god smile and praise his excellent eyes. Back in the present, Karna noted that, as his grandfather's descendants, the demon generals should be as strong as him. He declared that the demon general must have escaped. The fire spirit then said it would return to its lamp to stop draining Karna's power, reminding him to be careful. He thanked it and promised to call on it if he encountered an enemy, happily opening the lamp so the spirit could rest. He took off his mask and sighed before hearing Cecilia's footsteps approaching. He turned to see the demon queen, apologizing that her enemy had escaped. The demon queen smiled, realizing that the fire hammer was the embodiment of fire and power from Vorvados, the cursed ancient god, manifesting in his fist and vaporizing the entire area in its path. It was the first time she'd seen it in person. Cecilia then turned to the disappointed boy, gently scolding him for letting her enemy get away, while patting his head. To herself, she noted that the enemy might have actually been vaporized, wondering just how powerful this boy really was. Feeling nervous, Cecilia told Karna not to worry and handed him a stone that looked like a precious gem. She explained that it was a core, proof of ownership of the dungeon, and that it was easy to obtain since the boss had been defeated. She then handed the core and the dungeon over to him, telling him to do as he pleased and to consider it his home. The boy was overjoyed by this and asked the spirits what he should do with his new home. While Cecilia smiled from a distance, that evening, the heroes' party received a new extermination quest at the Royal Guild. The staff member there announced that they would be facing a formidable opponent that only a hero could defeat. He bowed his head, begging the hero to accept the quest. As he looked at the wanted poster, which had a similar image of Karna with his demon helmet, he noted the boy's impressive power, having defeated a demon general with just a single blow. However, he also noted that thanks to Karna, the party's holy knight had learned some resurrection magic. Deciding it was time to challenge stronger foes, smiling brightly, they suggested finding someone to help them defeat the demon. In a world ruled by swordsmanship, magic, and enlightenment, demons, who originated from ancient gods alongside humans who fought against them and claimed the continents, continue their fight to this day. Since demons live on the magical energy within souls, underground labyrinths are like farms, luring adventurers with the promise of treasure, then absorbing their souls into the dungeon core, creating a magical fluid that nourishes the demons. At the border between the human and demon realms, a new dungeon was about to be created by Karna. The boy held the dungeon core in his hands, took a deep breath before activating it. The ground began to crack, as shapes started to appear and form a modest burial mound. Cecilia wondered if it was big enough for him, and Karna explained that it was the only way he could use his necromancy's creation magic. He preferred comfort over style. He happily led her inside, lighting the way with his spirit lantern as he showed her the newly created furniture and hugged a talking pillow. He invited her to sit on it, and the girl happily accepted, remarking that his room was at the center of the dungeon and asked for permission to play with it a little. As Karna handed her the dungeon core, she joked that there would be no one to protect or take care of him while he was busy. Activating it, and created a magic circle that connected his room directly to hers. He wondered if that was okay, pointing out that he would also have access to her room, but she just gave him a mischievous wink and teased him, making him feel embarrassed. He looked at the gate, realizing that even if they were in the same dungeon, opening a portal like that was incredibly high-level magic. Although he might think of her as a kind older sister, she was still a powerful demon lord. Cecilia cheerfully returned the core to Karna, telling him that he would be able to use all the creation magic within his territory and shape the land as he pleased. She explained that demons use the magical energy in the land to create their own dungeons. When the core is found and destroyed, the magical energy is released and returns to the land, creating rich farmland, mines, and other resources. Therefore, dungeons are often prime targets for humanity in their search for treasure and materials from monsters. He pointed out that the more they take, the more land humanity can claim, suggesting they should maintain a defensive position. Karna happily asked his spirits for help. The next day, the hero's party faced an ogre. The hero proudly sliced it in two, declaring that they were getting closer to the dungeon. The hero's party continued to advance, fighting the ogres that appeared along the way, with the hero himself slicing one monster in half, while the battlemaster took down a second one with a single punch. The man cheered the group on, saying they only had a short way to go and encouraging everyone to keep up the pace. However, he was completely unaware that an ogre was charging up behind him. The monster snarled, preparing to smash him with its club. But the holy knight, who jumped in and absorbed the full force of the attack with her shield, saved him. He thanked her. He launched a valiant counterattack, ending the monster's life. But the Holy Knight fell to her knees, clutching her injured arm. The Battlemaster criticized her for acting so recklessly as a shield for the hero, even saying that Karna with his zombie attacks would have been better. However, she angrily retorted that she only did it because the hero always rushes in without thinking. The hero intervened, trying to calm the situation, pointing out that they had won. And the fact that they were standing outside the ogre's dungeon meant the story about the war demon tribe's dungeon being stolen by another demon had to be true. She insisted that it could be considered a strategy. While the two women were still annoyed, a third female member of the party appeared, asking the Battlemaster, whose name was Hiraki, if she trusted her information. The Battlemaster angrily replied that her information about the necromancer was useless, though she couldn't have known that since she'd been out in the field gathering intel until the day before. The woman replied that she believed a wise necromancer who held a gold mark would be a great asset for both offense and defense. However, the Holy Knight cut in, shouting that she would never have agreed if she had known Karna used filthy undead. The woman then called them naive, causing them to react angrily. While the hero tried to calm the situation, the woman asks why they didn't keep Karna around until she returned. The hero justifies that although Karna was a perfect asset, his presence would leave the hero with nothing to do, so the decision to kick him out was for political reasons. She looks at him with a tired expression, thinking to herself that he's an attention seeker, and revealing his name is Norris Palazius. Hiraki says that she had to join the party because he is a brave man with the talent of purification, meant to strengthen the previous hero's abilities and enlightenment. However, everyone in the party are attention seekers, chosen for their looks and talents, and often complain selfishly. Furthermore, she's disappointed to have missed her chance to meet Karna and laments that she's become a babysitter for all these people. Hiraki urges her to talk about the next dungeon, but she points out that it was Norris who accepted the quest without consulting her, and that there's no information about it other than it being in the ogre's dungeon. The female knight then criticizes her, suggesting she should go and scout the location, claiming she has neglected her duties while still getting paid as one of the hero's companions. Norris counters that she's doing a great job, but the woman points out that entering a dungeon without any information is a suicide mission, and they know nothing about the demons that have occupied it. Hiraki calls her arrogant for arguing with the hero, but the woman stands her ground, stressing the danger of not being aware of the reality of the situation. Norris pays this no mind, asserting that they are much stronger than before. The hero cheerfully agrees, seeing the dungeon as a good opportunity to see how much they've improved over the past few days, and urges the party to move on. 30 minutes later, the party arrives at the edge of the dungeon, and the woman feels a sense of dread as she notices the atmosphere has changed when they see the dungeon has a graveyard theme. She notes that this was supposed to be an ogre base, but Norris ignores her and recklessly enters the crypt, urging the group to follow, despite the woman's warnings against it. Meanwhile, their movements are being watched by Karna's spirits, who proceed to raise the alarm. A spirit warns Karna and Cecilia about the intruders, and the boy thanks it for the information, admitting he never thought the hero's party would come here, noting the strange connection he has with them. He wonders why the boy feels unhappy after how unjustly they treated him, suggesting it wouldn't hurt to at least get revenge for their actions. This strikes a chord with the boy, who realizes that even though they were once comrades, he owes them nothing, transforming into their enemy and becoming more serious. The boy decides that this intrusion cannot be tolerated, but he will still go easy on them for now, accepting the fact that they will likely die, as he now serves under the Demon Lord as an enemy of humanity. Karna rises from his coffin bed and holds the dungeon core in his hand. He summons Kuon's graveyard to deploy an army of the undead to stop the hero's party, thus fulfilling the eternal contract. Immediately, hordes of undead emerge from the graveyard and march forward, crossing the cemetery grounds. Karna watches them through the dungeon core, which transmits what the spirits see from the battlefield, allowing him to monitor the party's progress. Cecilia approaches him, calling the place an intimate and solemn space. And although the boy shyly admits he didn't have time for an elaborate design, he excitedly remarks that it's more than enough. He notes that the dungeon's design is like a seal where spirits are imprisoned, with mythical magic crystals that are a legacy of the ancient world, and guardians that could lock away even the ancient gods. Looking at the monitor, he observes that the dungeon Karna has built will be unbreakable. The undead surround the hero's party. Hiraki refuses to fight them, claiming they're disgusting, and tells the hero to take care of the mission after they've been destroyed. They are surrounded by a horde of angry ghouls, and Norris orders the Holy Knight to make them disappear with magic. She used her power, but the ghost just mocked her efforts before rushing in and phasing into her breastplate. The hero yelled at her, reminding her that she was responsible for the party's magical attacks, and also criticized the battle master, telling her to get it together. Watching from afar in Karna's room, Cecilia was surprised by the weakness of the current era's heroes. Karna explained that they lacked the proper methods to fight against ghosts and the undead, as the hero specialized in physical attacks, which were incompatible with incorporeal and resurrected beings. Meanwhile, the Holy Knight lacked the faith or support items to enhance her magic. As the other party members cowered, the assassin remained unfazed. She uncorked a bottle, ran up a wall, and performed an acrobatic flip. She doused the ghost with its contents, which was revealed to be holy water. As the ghost began to burn and flee, she finished her pirouette, drawing a silver dagger imbued with holy magic, and stabbed one of the creatures. She was criticized by a party member for her earlier remarks, but Cecilia noted that it wasn't the voice of the person who had just been saved. She praised the assassin for her skill and realized that without her, they would have failed. Cecilia was curious about what they would do next. The assassin told the party to retreat to get away safely, saying the ghost would reveal all their skills to the dungeon boss. The hero dismissed this, insisting they had to do something since they couldn't leave empty-handed. He ignored her when she called him reckless, saying they would win if they landed an effective attack, and that everything would be fine as long as they left with some loot. The assassin stressed that they couldn't just use the holy water, blessed with high magic, willy-nilly, because it was very expensive, leading Hiraki and the Holy Knight to call her selfish for holding back. She suggested that they should pay for it, deeming the situation not worth the cost. As they continued to argue, Norris intervened and offered to pay for it, asking if she would use it in the next battle. Pausing for a moment, the assassin agreed on the condition that they only use it if forced to retreat. He agreed, asking his teammates if they were on board, but the two women were still at odds, making the assassin see the hopelessness of the mission and decide she would leave the party if they survived. Hidaki promised to talk to her when they returned to town, but she ignored her and dons her cowl, as she moved ahead to scout before their retreat. After a while, they approached what looked like an exit, but she felt something was off and realized the distance they had traveled into the dungeon didn't match the distance they had traveled out. Norris and the others didn't seem to notice this, overjoyed at having found a way out, and ran straight for it, declaring that this dungeon was never a match for them. The assassin tried to stop them, warning of a trap, but as several gates slammed down, blocking all the exits, leaving them trapped. In a circular room, with ghosts hovering overhead, the assassin sensed a rift beginning to form. She threw her silver dagger towards it, but it was deflected by Karna, with his staff, as he stepped out wearing a cloak and a demon mask. The assassin recoiled in surprise, and Karna addressed the group, announcing that he had come to pay his respects as the lord of the underground dungeon. Looking the hero straight in the eye, Karna prepared to fight the human hero, and VOR whispered through his mind, asking its master if they could handle the hero or if they needed to bring out no dance. He refused, knowing that if they saw him use no dance along with the other spirits, he would be discovered and put his family in danger. So he had to fight with all his might. Norris was surprised by Karna's greeting, replying awkwardly before shouting at him that he shouldn't speak like a human. The assassin told him to calm down, pointing out what had happened to the dagger she had thrown. When the battle master called it a shiny knife, she corrected him, saying the silver dagger was designed to pierce any barrier and could harm demons, warning that it had been stopped by pure force. She reminded everyone not to let their guard down. She assessed Karna and deduced that although he looked like a child, he had definitely enhanced himself and could be considered a high-level warrior. She advised the others to coordinate and work carefully as a team, but Hiraki disregarded her advice and charged forward alone, believing she could handle the demon by herself. Karna summoned VOR, and the spirit allowed him to use its skills as he pleased. He then used fire armor, making himself immune to all attacks. Meanwhile, Hiraki continued to rush in alone, ignoring the assassin's advice. The hero reassured the assassin, reminding her that Hiraki was a high-level battle master, who had mastered all weapons and martial arts, to the point that she had become a divine figure in the world of martial arts. The girl prepared to strike, unleashing a supersonic punch at Karna, but he used his fire staff to block all the attacks. Hiraki was stunned by this outcome, terrified by Karna's mask, and ducked down as he unleashed a single fire blast, sending her flying. Norris watched, stunned. The boy was surprised at how easy the fight was. Thinking it was a joke that he could take her down even while holding back, he told himself that heroes were supposed to be able to challenge even the gods and be unstoppable. He believed they could do better than that. VOR reminded him not to let his guard down. The Holy Knight then said a prayer before launching an attack, Holy Crusher with her spear. Realizing that Hiraki would be caught in the blast, Karna summoned his army of the dead and raised a wall of corpses, protecting both him and the battle master. The attack exploded on impact with the wall, sending dust flying across the battlefield. The Holy Knight rejoiced, thinking she had won, not noticing that she might have hit the battle master, and quickly moved forward to revive her. Meanwhile, Karna stood over the corpse, the assassin warning the Holy Knight not to be so reckless as she charged toward Hiraki. The Holy Knight was stunned to see Karna checking on the master warrior. After looking at her, Karna turned and unleashed a disintegration wind. The knight raised her holy shield to block, but the attack was too powerful, causing the shield to corrode and shatter. She was hit by the full force of the attack, causing her armor and clothes to disintegrate. Before the assassin could rush in and pull her out of the line of fire, the girl trembled uncontrollably, terrified and ashamed of being completely naked, and wet herself before fainting. The assassin cursed her for being useless, wondering how to counter the mist's negative effects without the Holy Knight, while also realizing that the demon was stronger than all of them, and the master warrior had been taken hostage. Meanwhile, Karna noticed the hero's furious expression, and VOR remarked that Hiraki would have died if Karna hadn't held back with his weapon. Norris shouted with motivation, glowing with power, while the boy wondered if he was willing to put his comrades in danger. The hero replied that he wasn't, but that they all knew the risks when they joined. He revealed that he'd also learned some resurrection magic, so he didn't care if the Holy Knight died, since he could just bring her back. This enraged the boy. Seeing the hero unleash a powerful holy slash, the boy was furious at his willingness to sacrifice a comrade, despite having no reason to help Hiraki. He angrily declared he wouldn't let the hero abandon someone a second time and fully unleash the power of Vorvados. The spirit materialized, launching a fiery punch as a counterattack, shattering the hero's attack. The fireball flew past Norris, destroying the sphere behind him, horrified to realize that a shadow demon had countered a hero's strike. To stop him from winning, Norris watched as his holy sword snapped in two, causing him to scream in horror. The knight kept screaming in disbelief, especially as his holy armor and equipment also began to crumble, leaving him in nothing but his underwear. He cried out in panic, demanding to know what kind of magic Karna used to destroy his holy sword and equipment, but the assassin cuts him off, insisting that it was entirely his fault. Stepping forward, she performs a special spell, allowing her to see the monster's name, race, and attribute, confirming that Vorvados has a good attribute in this world. Souls are classified by two attributes. Those who protect and show compassion for others are marked as good, while those who prioritize their own interest and happiness are marked as evil. Karna comments on Vor's good attribute, and the ancient god cheerfully declares that he is a spirit who descended to protect his friends and family. He explains that a person can easily switch between these two attributes, as they are determined by one's actions. The assassin tells Norris that a hero can only have the power to destroy evil by acting within the absolute limits of what is considered good, and calls himself selfish for hiding behind his comrades in battle. The hero hastily objects, insisting that he isn't selfish. He explains that he gave Karna money, even though he didn't have to after Karna was exiled, and says that it doesn't count as abandoning his comrades if he can still help them, right? The assassin sighs, telling him that he doesn't truly believe that in his heart, and points out that his holy sword and equipment have abandoned him, which was made clear through her spell. She tells him to give up, revealing that his attribute is now evil. So he has lost his divine command and now bears the seal of a covenant breaker instead. In this world, those who possess a divine command and have a blessed profession are called the chosen, while those who have lost or never had a divine command are labeled covenant breakers and are often scorned by others. Norris screams in despair, scratching at his face, unable to accept this truth, and asks the assassin why she didn't tell him sooner. She angrily grabs his head, pointing out that he obviously shouldn't have exiled or attacked his own comrade. She declares that he has failed as an adventurer, as a hero, and as a human being, and that not betraying your party members is common sense. Norris sees Karna in the distance and panics, begging the assassin to save him because he doesn't want to die. The woman quickly backs away, preparing to use another vial of holy water. But Karna uses magic to freeze her hand, saying he doesn't want to do anything unreasonable and advises her to stop resisting. She insists that since she was paid, she will keep her promise and fight to the end, drawing a silver knife, and throws it at Karna. Karna easily dodges it, steps on the two spirits, to launch himself into the air, and quickly closes in on her, getting behind her to knock her out with his staff. The woman falls to the ground, and as the former hero tries to crawl away, he is pinned to the ground by Cecilia. She is disappointed by the hero's current state, and when the man angrily asks who she is, she introduces herself as the Demon Lord of the Lost. Cecilia continues to hold the former hero down, affirming that she is indeed the one humans call the Demon Lord. Karna approaches, apologizing for almost letting him escape, but she winks and replies that he could have easily handled it even without her there. Norris tries to crawl away again, but was pinned down again. He turned back with a fearful look at the cold Demon Lord, saying that if he had known beforehand, he wouldn't have come in here. She calmly replied that crying was useless, because he was just paying the price for his actions. If he hadn't been so foolish, he wouldn't have lost his divine mandate, and might have survived longer if he had cooperated with his comrades. The former hero began to beg, offering to become her subordinate if she spared his life. She brutally stomped on his back, making him scream in pain, and declared that she had no need for someone like him. She coldly asked him if he was trying to make the Demon Lord's army a joke. She explained to Karna that demons value themselves more than evil, and that's why they band together to seek benefits, achieving goals that individuals cannot. This is the very glue that holds the Demon Lord's army together. Karna wondered what she was trying to tell him. The Demon Lord continued, declaring that a former hero who had abandoned his comrades and no longer had any justice was not even worthy of being killed. Seeing his unconscious comrades, Cecilia told Norris to leave this place immediately, and the terrified man agreed. Cecilia and Karna exchanged a look, after which the boy summoned spirits to lift the former hero, the holy knight, and the master warrior, and then carry them out of the dungeon. While the man screamed, the assassin remained in the room, As Cecilia explained that they needed to talk to her, the demon lord then asked the boy how he felt, and Karna took off his mask. Karna cheerfully told Cecilia that it was satisfying, and he thought that was enough. Then, he declared that he would become a worthy opponent for humanity as Cecilia's subordinate, and that very fact made him rejoice at being able to fight. The demon lord looked pleased, saying that from now on she would trust him, which made Karna very excited. News of the hero's defeat and the loss of his divine mandate spread like wildfire. Meanwhile, something sinister appeared in Kalkazan, the land of shadows under the rule of the greedy demon lord. One of his subordinates reported on the events that had transpired, causing the army kneeling before him to start murmuring amongst themselves. Sitting on the corpse of a dead dragon, the greedy demon lord, Dargaz Zalaga, assessed the situation. He noted that not only had Cecilia stolen his dungeon, but she had gone a step further and taken down the hero as well. He radiated fury, stood up and cracked his knuckles, declaring that he would have to have a talk with Cecilia at the Adventurers Guild in the imperial capital. At the guild, the guildmaster slammed his desk in frustration upon hearing the news of the hero's defeat. He frantically asked his assistant if the report was completely accurate, and she confirmed that it was, revealing that after the hero lost his divine mandate and was branded a covenant breaker, the country had secretly executed him. Both of his comrades were so traumatized they were beyond recovery. Sighing, the guildmaster asked about the mercenaries sent to train to monitor them, and the assistant reported that she might have been captured to be used as a source of information. He feared that information about the country's strongest adventurers had been leaked. However, the woman pointed out that Aisha Alistair was a chosen one and a veteran of many battlefields, possessing the assassin's divine mandate, and she wouldn't betray humanity so easily. The guildmaster noted that they no longer had the resources to rescue her, accepting that she would likely die. This exchange was being observed by a horned spider, perched on the assistant's shoulder. The spider was then retrieved by a demon lurking nearby, who quickly departed to report this information to Cecilia. At Karna's dungeon, the boy realized there was no way to increase the dungeon's difficulty any further, as the creation magic he could use was limited. Karna was determined to protect this place for Cecilia, though the old man tried to reassure him, arguing that if the dungeon had already defeated the hero, that should be enough. However, Karna countered that he only managed to drive them away because he caught them off guard. He feared that veteran adventurers and the Demon King's army could easily break through with the current preparations. Their conversation was interrupted by the return of the field supervisor. The giant dragon emerged from a magic circle. He reported that the number of facilities and traps the boy could create with his creation magic was too limited, prompting Karna to admit he still had much to learn. The supervisor went on to explain that the creation magic of the Necromancer School was mainly for fortifying bases and controlling the undead, not for defending a labyrinth. He noted that the facilities shouldn't be run at their limits and advised Karna to devise an efficient operational plan before leaving. Karna declared that he had an idea, but needed more experience to succeed, and wanted the opinion of a veteran who understood adventurers. Putting on his helmet, the boy rose from his cushion and headed to the dungeon to ask the assassin for advice, which the old man approved of. In the dungeon, the assassin restlessly cursed her captors, asking if this was how they treated prisoners. Surrounded by cute cats, she fretted, wondering if they really believed these creatures would make her let her guard down. A cat meowed before jumping onto her lap, and she struggled to resist its cuteness. As it stood on its hind legs, she noticed her food was just bread and soup, but at least it was human food. She wondered if these cats were monsters, but then found herself unable to resist their charm. Aisha continued to resist until a cat jumped onto the floor and rolled onto its back for her to play with. Despite a final attempt at resistance, she finally gave in, happily rubbing its belly. She buried her face in its soft fur, realizing it smelled like sunshine and telling herself she had to keep it a secret that she was a die-hard cat lover. She wondered how they found out. Karna appeared behind the bars, apologizing to her for it, and explaining they had to read her soul while she was unconscious. Stunned, she realized he was the demon from before. Karna explained that his necromancy skill, soul reading, allowed him to gather a person's name, background, and preferences. The assassin shuddered, realizing he was overwhelmingly powerful. Despite his inexperience, Karna could still defeat the hero and might even be on par with the Demon King, which made the assassin wonder why he was on the front lines between demons and humans. Karna then listed all the information he knew about her, including her profession as an assassin and her item mastery skill. And that in her spare time, she took care of the stray cats in the capital. Aisha blushed in embarrassment, covering her face and apologizing for being a cat lover. She hugged a cat tightly, declaring that unlike humans, cats aren't two-faced and wouldn't let her down. Karna thought this was cute and that it was nothing for her to be ashamed of, but she bluntly replied that even if he could control the cats, that didn't help her. She declared that she wouldn't reveal any information, and if he was going to kill her, he should just do it. As she was a mercenary loyal to her master and was prepared to sacrifice her life, Karna understood that and proceeded to take off his helmet, causing Aisha to scream in confusion. Aisha looked at Karna, surprised to see a human serving the demon lord. The boy walked into the cell with an innocent look, declaring that the demon lord's army had better pay and benefits. The assassin was surprised, wondering if that was the reason he had turned his back on humanity, before realizing with disappointment who he really was. Karna was surprised that she recognized him, and Aisha explained that she was the one who had recommended him to the hero. Because she had noticed his skills and believed he would be very useful, she regretted that he had been fired before she rejoined the party. Aisha then asked if he had joined the Demon Lord's army, because he held a grudge against the hero, but Karna denied it, saying he didn't have time to bother with revenge and had joined purely for business reasons. Aisha wasn't convinced, so to reassure her, Karna gave her the truth of OST, a jewel that would glow red when it detected a lie, so she could clearly see the truth in his words. She hesitantly took it and examined the jewel, and when Karna repeated his reason for attacking the hero's party, Aisha was surprised to confirm that Karna was actually telling the truth. He went on to say that, although it wasn't easy, after being fired, he now really enjoys working with Cecilia and has learned a lot. Karna explained that demon and human cultures are very different, in that for demons, strength is everything, whether it's wealth, power, skill, or charm.